Political analyst Rodney Shakespeare is also joining us now from the British capital, London. Mr. Shakespeare, welcome to the program. We've been focusing on the recent escalation of violence taking place out on the streets of Bahrain. Give us your thoughts and perspectives of what is actually taking place right now.
Essentially, Saudi Arabia is attacking the house of a democratic leader in Bahrain, because Saudi Arabia is in occupation of Bahrain. It is in collusion with the killer Khalifah regime to smash any democratic force in Bahrain. At the same time, the British government and the American governments are in collusion with Saudi Arabia. This attack on the Sheikh's house and what is now the killing of people in the village in Bahrain is a direct consequence. Donald Trump, the American president, doing the sword dance with the Saudi regime only 2 days ago. He did it in exactly the same way as Prince Charles of the United Kingdom has also done the sword dance with the Saudi regime. And for justifying all this, the British government dares to say that Saudi Arabia is supporting democracy when they go in and they make an onslaught on Yemen, which is now a genocide. It is not only the 10 to 12,000 killed, the 50 to 60,000 people who have had their legs blown off, and now the over 1 to 2 million people at the risk of starvation. This is the genocide, and it happens not only in Bahrain and in Yemen. It happens because my government supports Wahhabism. The key to all this is the Wahhabism of Saudi Arabia, which says that if a young man kills Christians, God will reward him in paradise. If a young man kills his fellow Muslims, God will reward him in paradise. And if you want to know what is the psychological and the financial cause behind the bombing in the UK yesterday in Manchester, when children were blown apart, it is the direct responsibility of the British government, which sucks up to Saudi Arabia and says that Saudi Arabia is a democrat and an upholder of human rights. We are suffering the consequences in Manchester because we are not prepared to stand up to Saudi Arabia and say we will overthrow that regime by any means. And if it means breaking with the Americans, we will do that. And at the same time, unless we stop supporting the killer Khalifa in suppressing Democrats in Bahrain, the Saudis are out of control. They can smash in Bahrain, they can smash in Yemen, they can put their philosophy and their money into the young people in the United Kingdom who blow up children in having a night out in Manchester. Our British government ought to be ashamed of themselves. They should get out of the way and put in people who will say, at all costs, we will now stand up and we will overthrow the regime in Saudi Arabia, which is behind the suppression in Bahrain, the onslaught in Yemen, and behind the bombing in Manchester, and behind the bombings to come in the UK. Unless we do that, it's no good having more police. Yes, more police, but they won't be able to stop the essential source, which is the Wahhabism of Saudi Arabia.